invited to pull up a chair on Lisa Harper's Back Porch, where faith meets real life. Welcome to Back Porch Theology. Each episode helps you dive deeper into God's Word and discover that the gospel isn't just good news for eternity. It's great news for everyday life, because God is for you, and He's always been restoring our value and drawing us closer to Him. With honest conversations, a few laughs, and guests ranging from close friends to brilliant theologians, Back Porch Theology is thoughtful, meaningful, and never stuffy. So grab some coffee or sweet tea and join Lisa Harper on Back Porch Theology. Subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake it off with Mert and Lucas. Live starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
Hey, Alex, what's that song called?
All right, this is called Cry of the Soul by Nikki Pay.
Cry of the Soul. Well, that's fitting, because we're about to talk about a modern-day battle for the human soul. And apparently, my friends, it ain't just with the serpent, also known as the tempter, also known as Beelzebub, also known as the drama llama of the underworld, and more commonly known as the devil or Satan. But according to the Pope, the battle is also being waged by artificial intelligence, or as we call it, AI. Look, the Vatican has never been afraid of drawing lines. Some are doctrinal, some are moral, some are aesthetic, but every so often Rome draws a line in the sand that reveals something deeper about the age we're living in. Now, Pope Francis' recent declaration that priests must not use artificial intelligence to write homilies is one of those lines. Mert, you're laughing. Shame on you. The Pope's argument is deceptively simple. AI cannot imitate faith, but it cannot share. It can imitate, but it cannot share it. Now, a homily is not a TED Talk. It's not a content block. It's not a Sunday deliveral. It's a product of a human life. Its doubts, its bruises, its hopes, its failures, its prayers. And no matter how many parameters an AI model has, no matter how many terabytes of text it has consumed, it cannot live a life. But deep down lies a much larger story. A global institution, the church, wrestling with the same cultural, technological, and existential pressures that every other human community is facing. The church is not banning AI because it fears the future. It is banning AI because it recognizes something about the present. We are outsourcing our souls faster than we realize. Have you lost your soul to AI, Mert?
Listen, I'm gonna ignore that because I'm the most. I have a soul, I'm an angel. I'd give you the shirt off my back,
angel,
if you needed it.
Unless we do a trivia contest, then it just changes everything.
I'm even honest during those when I could cheat too, like you guys did. But I'm honest and I'm fair.
God. You're
but to answer
loser.
that,
some angel of a sore loser. Yeah, but anyway, go ahead.
I just want a fair competition. That's it. But I think it's laughable that the Pope is trying to remove AI, because AI, if you really look at it, you could say that's from God. He allowed people to create this stuff.
What?
You could say God created AI. He put it into our minds and allowed us to create it. So why wouldn't we be able to use it? It ain't like it's some alien thing, but we could even say that aliens come from God. So everything comes from God. So why can't we use AI to create whatever that thing what did you say? What is it? A homily?
Yes.
What's the matter with that?
Whatever.
You know what? I think what they're really doing is they're getting afraid of just how much soul AI has to it, because I think one of these priests. I think one of these priests put together a sermon so good that they were like, "Man, how did you do that in 2 hours?" And he was like, "I just used ChatGPT." And they was like, "No, That you can't do that. And you got a bunch of old guys who don't know how to use computers, and they're getting nervous because they're like, these young guys are going to have way better sermons and homilies, and they're going to have way better all that stuff than us because we don't know how to actually use the technology. I think AI used by humans is fair game. Now, if you got an AI preacher, if you got people crazy enough to watch it, or I'm not even going to call them crazy, if you got people interested in watching it, so be it. Why is the Pope so afraid of AI? If you have God on your side, why would you be afraid of technology?
Because AI, Mert, as you noted, it can produce text, right? But it cannot produce meaning. It can generate sentences, right?
Oh, yes, it can. It can
but it
generate
cannot
meaning.
Generate faith. It cannot
yes, it
simulate
can.
empathy. It cannot feel, Mert. AI cannot feel.
Well, the AI can, but they can write words.
Not currently. Maybe if it becomes sentient, maybe decades from now.
But the technology, the AI can replicate stories and emotions in print form very easily. And they do a good job of it because a lot of people are actually doing this and you don't realize it until they come out and say, oh, this was created by AI. Because it's not hard to point out and pick out what human beings will get emotional about. If you talk about, write a story about how much I love my dog. If I read that story, a bunch of emotion is going to be evoked from other people.
But there won't be real depth to it because the AI, the computer has no idea what your relationship to that animal is. Mert.
No, that's where you underestimate the technology because all you have to do...
Total artificial construct, totally artificial.
See, this is where you underestimate the technology and you show your lack of education on it because you can give prompts to these AI... You can give prompts, and with these prompts, you can feed in all these little details, and you can say, with these details, craft.
Not emotion. See, this is the point. A homily, for example, Mert, is not just information. It's not like a research paper. It's a relationship. It's the moment when a priest stands before the community, right, and says, in effect, here is what the gospel means to me, and here is what it might mean to you. That requires vulnerability. It requires risk. It requires the willingness to be wrong, to be imperfect, to be human, Mert. A machine cannot
Let me show you how crazy of an idea that is, because I didn't know that Whitney Houston didn't write that song, I Will Always Love You. She didn't write that song. Okay. But when she sung that song, you would have thought she created it. Because she was able to use her human abilities to transfer words on a piece of paper.
She felt it. That's right. That's my point.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
That's my point. She felt it, Mert.
No, your point is not that.
And by the way,
hold on a second.
Dolly Parton actually wrote that song. I think it was Dolly Parton, by the way.
You cut me off. Let me finish my point. My point is this. If a priest is reading something, then that priest is going to use his human ability to transform those words and give it meaning.
That's inflection. That's not meaning. No.
You're just making up stuff now. Now you're making up stuff.
You're putting an emphasis on a sentence. You read a sentence, you could put emphasis here and emphasis there. But the words lack substance. Don't you agree, Alex? It's generated by computer code, and Mert's fallen for it like it's okay.
Well, look, I agree with you. I don't want someone to put up a Christmas homily or any kind of homily in an hour or two. I want it to be long. I want it to be heartfelt. I want it to be, with meaning.
True to that person.
And I just feel like, can you imagine if it's AI or GPT and the words are all mixed up? It'll be a disaster. And by the way, I feel like this is the same thing.
So you don't think people would spell check and go over and read it themselves?
Absolutely not. I think it'd be a very odd script if you ask me.
No.
Look,
so you think people just take? So you think people just take that stuff and don't review it? You just think they just reading it?
You know what? Can I tell you something? Many lawyers have gotten in big trouble for precisely that reason. They don't review it. Many lawyers have gotten sanctioned by federal court judges because they don't check what AI is producing, and a lot of what AI is producing is inaccurate. But we digress because the technology currently
there's no soul to law. Don't try to bring soul and all that into law.
And there's no soul to any homily that's written by computer code. That's the point. Now look, AI never loses sleep over a parishioner's grief. It never sits at a hospital bed. It never buries a child. It never doubts God. It never loves God. And so the Pope argues it cannot preach about God. And I think that's the overarching point, Mert. How can you be okay with that?
Because what you're trying to do right now is you're being very misleading. You're very sneaky like that. I'll give you credit. You're very devious in what you're doing because
sneaky. Yeah.
What you were implying is that the AI is doing everything from A to Z. The AI is giving the sermon. The AI is creating the sermon. The AI is all of a sudden now the Pope. That's not how it works. What's happening is a man who is a priest has some information in his mind, or he has a direction, he has a prompt in his mind where he wants to go with a certain sermon. He feeds this information to the AI. He reviews it, looks at it, says, you know what? Refine it a little bit more. Refine it some more. All right, this is something I can work with. He then takes that sermon and he gives his own spin on it. He goes out there and he preaches and he tells the people his interpretation of what's on those pieces of paper, what those words truly mean to him. And all of a sudden, the AI generated this content, but the human has given the content life and a soul. See, that's the part you're not.
Well, that's
being
a little different.
honest
I think
about.
that's a little different when if they're using AI as talking points. That's one thing, right? And then
That's exactly what they're doing.
But that's not what they're doing. I think he's.
But if they're
concerned.
making speeches with it, right? That means to
they're
me the
doing
priest is cutting
generating-
corners, and that's the
Yes,
problem here.
That's the problem. They're getting lazy, just like kids in school are getting lazy. People at work are getting lazy. Lawyers are getting lazy. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah, everybody's lazy. Everybody wants to go
Yes, I
fast
think most
food.
people-
Everybody
most
wants
people-
fast food.
that's why-
Everybody wants
that's-
DoorDash. Everybody wants
correct.
Uber. Everybody who wants to ride a horse. I want the car. Don't give me no stupid horse. I want the car.
Have you ever been on a horse? It hurts, by the way. But
Absolutely.
anyway,
Especially
it
if you're a
hurts.
man. It hurts.
Yeah,
Okay.
It hurts. Look, if you ask the computer to make a homily that's short, warm, pastoral, it'll deliver. You ask for a homily that references Taylor Swift, the Miami Dolphins, the price of groceries, it'll deliver. It'll even generate a joke, Mert. But the danger is that it will produce what's called, and this is what the Pope is worried about, plausible spirituality. Words that sound like faith, but are hollow at its core.
That already exists. There's already people in these There's already people in these churches who don't really believe in what they're preaching. They're just there because it pays well. So if you can't get rid of human beings,
they should be removed. Then that's not. You'll never.
No, because they can channel the authenticity that you see in somebody else who is actually a believer, and they can channel it and say, "Oh, I'm going to act like I truly believe, but I just like the lifestyle." So if you want to go that far, then you're going to have to do a deep dive into what people actually feel. Because if you want to get rid of AI, then let's get rid of people in general who don't really believe what they're preaching. But you can never do that, because getting into that level of detail and how people think is almost impossible. So if this priest, the Pope, I don't want to say this priest, if the Pope is worried about AI, you have a much bigger thing to worry about when you have priests who are in the church for the wrong reasons. And we don't need to talk about what those reasons are. Everybody knows.
That is a different topic, Mert, and I agree with you. That is a totally different topic.
It's all in the same barrel.
Let's stay focused on today's topic, which is the banning of AI for homilies. And I think, for the reasons that we discussed, that's a good thing. I mean, we are already drowning in synthetic content. When you look on stuff online, social media, half of it is artificially created, like videos that are fake. We are getting overwhelmed with articles, scripts, essays, emails, poems, stuff that's generated by a computer, but
I hear that.
lacking authenticity, my friend.
But think about this.
The line between being let me just finish this thought. The line between being human and artificial is blurring faster than our ability to process it. And I think that's what the Pope is worried about. Do not surrender your voice. Do not outsource your soul. Do not confuse fluency with truth. And I think that's where you're stuck. And maybe I should add, that's where you... Yeah.
No. Let me get this out because you're trying to run the clock out on me. I see what you're trying to do there. Listen.
No, the clock runs itself, my friend.
Listen.
Go.
What would happen is if you really want to find out who's using AI to write these sermons or homilies, guess what you would have to do? You'd have to put that sermon through an AI software so they would be able to determine it. So you're not going to be able to stop this because...
Well, it's not 100% reliable right now, but I get what you're saying, yeah.
How you going to stop me, Pope? What you going to do? You going to put trackers on my my computer? You can't stop.
The priest is supposed to follow the mandates of the Pope. And a priest that cheats, despite the Pope's mandate, wow. What kind of
the priest.
Person,
well, let me tell you,
what kind of clergy person
well,
is
hold on a second. Maybe the priest had
Alex,
maybe the priest had a night out. You know, he had a little bit too much wine.
He's not supposed to have a night out. What are we talking about?
Well, what if he did? What if he did? And all of a sudden,
likes to make things up. Our listeners.
Well, let me finish this before you cut me off. Maybe the Pope or the priest had a little bit a night out, and now he needs to come in and write a sermon real quick. He needs to write a sermon real quick, and now he needs to type it into ChatGPT, and it helps him out in a tough spot. See, that type of stuff can happen, but you guys want to ignore that. Technology is not your enemy. It is your friend. And the Pope needs to understand that instead of running from AI, you need to run to it because it is a creation of God if we're going to have this belief that God creates all.
So
it is a manifestation of God.
It is a creation of God. So what?
Well, and also, I believe ChatGPT suggests sentences instead of actually just saying what you want. It suggests it and put it in there, and then you don't have time to review what it's suggesting. That's the other problem here. But, I want to tell you, technology's plagued the Vatican recently. Apparently, during the conclave in 25, there was someone with a cell phone in that conclave videoing things and sending it out or transmitting information. So technology is plaguing the Vatican, and I think he's trying to stop it.
Look, we're running out of time. The Pope's prohibition on AI homilies is not about technology, Mert. It's about anthropology. It's about what it means to be a human. It's about what it means to speak, to believe, to struggle, to hope, something that AI cannot currently do. Maybe when we're long gone, the technology might catch up, but not now. And the church is saying something that the rest of the world needs to hear. Do not let the machine do your living for you. AI can write a homily, it can write a poem, it can write a eulogy, it can write a love letter, it can write a confession, it can write a prayer, but it cannot mean any of it. And adding meaning is the one thing we can't afford to lose right now. And you know what? We're losing time is what we're losing. You're listening to episode 87 of Shake It Off with Merton Lucas Live. Now, this is Lucas Ferrara, and with me at the studio at AM 970 Radio is the one, the only Mert Roberts, affectionately known by millions as the Mertonator. Working the board, none other than Alex Garrett. He's got a 5-star rated podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. Please check it out. And of course, working Master Control, the one, the only Disney cruise lover, Ashley Ferrante. She's back from Disney. We missed her for weeks. Now, when we come back after the commercial break, we'll be joined by Daniel G. Ecker. He's a seasoned personal injury attorney and founding partner of Lever Ecker, located in White Plains, New York. And he's known for his meticulous case preparation and unwavering client advocacy. With nearly 3 decades of experience on both the defense and plaintiff sides, he brings a rare strategic depth to helping injured New Yorkers rebuild their lives. Are you looking at AI right now, Mert? Are you checking out AI right now? Is that what you're doing?
Wouldn't you like to know? I'm not going to reveal that. I'm not going to tell you my secrets.
Oh, see? more transparency. That's what the president did, made the mistake. The president made the mistake. Anyway, me, Mert, Alex, Dan, Ecker, all of us at AM 970 Radio will return after these quick messages. Justice never sleeps, and apparently neither does Dan Ecker. Stay with us. The next segment is safer than your local crosswalk, I think.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate. MyPillow and MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $17.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 and the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Joe P or call 800-651-0798. These offers won't last long, so call 800-651-0798 or go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Joe P. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Joe P or call 800-651-0798. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Hi, Kevin McCullough. Wish there was an easier way to navigate the world of real estate. If only there was a way to learn from the best. Well, now there is. Saturdays at 10, our very own Dottie Herman, Vice Chair of Douglas Elliman, gives you the inside track to what is hot in real estate. Stay one step ahead in today's seller's market as Dottie gives her tips on how to make it through the tricky waters. Doesn't matter if you're new to the game or a seasoned vet. You need to listen to Eye on Real Estate. Dottie and her team of experts will guide you as sellers and buyers to make sure you're getting the best value for your property. Whether you want to become a real estate agent or work within the business, there is no better person to learn from than the great Dottie Herman. Why? Because she is the best. Period. So tune in, Eye on Real Estate, Saturdays at 10 on AM 970 The Answer. That's Eye on Real Estate, Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock on AM 970 The Answer.
I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
That's a great beat, Alex. What's that one called?
All right, this is called Crash Course by Lone Wolf Productions.
A crash course. How fitting. Our audience is about to get a crash course, literally and figuratively. Daniel G. Ecker is founding partner of Lever & Ecker, LLP, and a highly respected personal injury attorney known for his dedication, skill, and compassionate advocacy. Inspired by a family legacy of service, Dan began his career on the defense side. Boo hiss, gaining invaluable insight into how insurance companies operate operate. Today, he uses that knowledge to fight for injured clients with strategic precision and heartfelt commitment. Dan has been named to the New York Metro Super Lawyers list from 2019 to 2025, and he's in good company. He's among the top 5% of plaintiffs' personal injury lawyers in the region. Clients praise Dan, his professionalism, his genuine care, offered in describing the firm's support as making them feel, quote, like family, end quote. A graduate of Fordham University School of Law, Cornell University, Dan lives in Westchester with his wife and 2 kids and is an avid golfer. And get this, Alex, he's a lifelong Giants, Mets, and Knicks fan.
Common ground already.
Oh, see, we love you already. Welcome to the program, Dan.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate that wonderful introduction. Thanks, gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Now, let me ask you, what's the biggest mistake people make in the minutes after an accident, like a crash or a fall? You pick. But people make, as a lawyer, I've seen people make loads of mistakes, and I wonder if you could share with listeners, what they get wrong and how that can hurt them. Their case.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again. Listen, I think the biggest mistake people make at the outset is not appreciating the severity of what they've just endured. Obviously, if someone's in a significant accident with catastrophic injuries, that's one thing. But if they're in an accident and, we're all late to work or to school or wherever we're off to these days, and what people need to do is slow down and appreciate the potential severity of what they've just experienced, and recognize that they need to focus on their health first and foremost, and get medical attention if they need it, and then contact the police, gather evidence, obtain information at the scene. Because when 2 days later you're sitting there and you can barely get out of bed because the adrenaline's worn off and the inflammation is kicked in, and your neck or back or whatever other part of your body is in terrible pain, you're going to look back and realize that you should have paid closer attention at the time to what was happening and gathered the evidence that you need to support what might be a significant claim on your behalf.
You know what I want to ask? Because,
Dan, watch out for the Murdinator. It's the Murdinator.
I love when I get to talk to lawyers because my co-host is a lawyer and you're a lawyer too. So what made you go into this area of law? Because there's so many different areas. What is it about this area that made you say, this is where I want to go?
So I was, earlier in my career, I was actually on the other side, defending lawyers and doctors and other types of defendants. And
you're like malpractice? You were doing malpractice cases?
Yes, defense. And so about 10 years ago, this opportunity came along with my partner. And quite frankly, it's, in my view, a more rewarding experience, helping people who've been through probably the most traumatic experience of their lives, to help them through it and to get, in my view, what they deserve for what they've been through. For me, personally, it's much more rewarding, having been here for 10 years. And
do you think that, because you see the commercials everywhere, do you ever feel like overwhelmed that people are coming to you with just outrageous claims like, oh, I slipped, or I slipped in a supermarket or something like that, and they really didn't, nothing really happened, but they're coming to you because they feel like they seen it on a TV show, and they're like, well, I want some money, so if I slip and I say I'm going to sue this place, I'm going to just come to you. Does that ever get overwhelming, having to deal with just how close you are to regular people? See, you really are dealing with regular people, so you got to deal with the good
Absolutely.
And the bad.
We do, and unfortunately that does happen much more often than not. When the phone rings, it is often, at times someone who is, like you said, may not have a valid claim for whatever reason, whether they think they do or, they're pursuing something quick. And sometimes we get calls from people literally, in the emergency room. But listen, it's our job as lawyers to do a good job to make sure that we, on behalf of our colleagues, represent people and help people who actually deserve it. We feel, and I feel that my community, for the most part, does do that.
About how long does it take you to figure out if somebody actually has a legit claim? Like, does it take you long, or is it, like a process that you must go through? And sometimes it can just be like, man, I wasted all this time with this person.
The answer is it depends. I mean, literally, within 3 minutes, sometimes you can sort of see through to what you're dealing with. We have at my firm, we have a pretty thorough or a very thorough investigation process that we go through before we move forward with a client. And we feel that pretty quickly, and certainly before we, really engage fully in the process, we vet them and understand who we're dealing with and what we're dealing with, and making sure that it's someone who has, a valid claim, who we're going to invest the time, energy, and money to represent and help through to the end.
And don't forget, Mert, there are cameras almost everywhere these days. So
That's true.
And most supermarkets, for example, Mert, there are cameras every inch, every aisle. So if someone's going to bring a frivolous case, that's going to be really transparent.
But I'm thinking about like the process of even going to the supermarket saying, hey, can we see your cameras? Like, if you do that, because a lot of these places say we don't get paid unless you win.
Right.
So, like, there's got to be a process beforehand.
Right. And may I speak? And Dan, I guess you also have to assess the extent of the injury. If it's a bruise, I doubt that Dan's going to take it, because the monetary, the amount of damages might be minimal. But if it's a significant injury, broken leg, a hip, or whatever, then there may be more meat to it. Don't you think, Dan? Or am I wrong here?
No, you're spot on. I mean, what we do as part of our analysis when we're contacted by someone is we look at a variety of factors. We look at, liability. What's the nature of the accident? Whose fault was the accident? Was it the person who's calling us, or was it another driver, or was it a construction manager, general contractor? Depending on the type of accident, and we drill down on that to determine whose fault the accident was. So that's step one. And step two is damages. What's the extent of potential clients' injuries, their pain and suffering? Have they had surgeries? Are these injuries and surgeries related to the accident they just suffered, or is it from a prior incident? And do they have a loss of income? Is it someone who is a significant wage or income earner who's now not able to earn money? So we analyze all these different angles to determine, again, the viability both of the claim in terms of liability, and then, as you gentlemen said, the significance of the injuries.
Dan, I see a lot of people make this mistake. No police report. How terrible, how fatal is that?
It's not good. It's not good. Certainly, it's much better to have a police report. I mean, a police report is a generally neutral, time-stamped, contemporaneous official record. And I'll be honest, when someone comes to us having been, let's say, in a car accident and there's no police report, it definitely creates an uphill battle. The police report provides information, when the accident happened, where it happened, depending on the circumstances, who may have been at fault, or who was at fault, or who was likely at fault for the accident. And it just, provides a roadmap. Often it provides witness information with names and phone numbers. And yeah, I mean, it can make all the difference in the world between, whether a case is viable or not.
So if I'm on the floor and I'm still conscious, I should be calling the police if somebody else won't? Is that what you're recommending?
If you're able to, yes, you should call 911. I mean, again, the most important thing, of course, is your health and safety. Right, if it's a car accident, get to a safe place. If you're in danger, call 911. Assess yourself in terms of your health. If an ambulance comes, if you feel any pain, you should absolutely go to the hospital. And then, depending on the circumstances of your injuries, if you're able to gather evidence at the scene, which I'm happy to talk more about, then that's something you should consider too, again, if you're able to do that.
Yeah, so listen, people, one of the top experts is saying a police report is very, very important. And when we come back from the break, he's also going to talk about why delaying medical care can also be very damaging to your case. But we've run out of time. We have to take a quick commercial break, Dan. But have no fear, Dan Ecker will be rejoining us after these commercial messages. For more information about Dan and his firm, visit leverecker.com. That's leverecker.com. We'll also post the link on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Mert, Alex, Dan, and I certainly hope you'll stay tuned. Hang tight. When we come back, Dan Ecker of Lever and Ecker is driving into the kind of real-world legal wisdom you won't get from a Google search. If you care about protecting yourself or your family, you'll want to be here for it. So come on back and let's hear more from Dan.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 1250 Broadway in New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate. Imagine a child waking up this morning hungry. It's hard to focus on anything when your stomach aches, but you can change that today. With Food for the Poor, your gift is giving kids daily food, access to safe water to drink, and because of a generous match for a limited time, it only takes $150 to feed 4 children. $300 helps 8. $1,000 feeds a classroom of 26 kids because of the match. Click the Give Life banner at am970theanswer.com. Call now 855-907-4673. That's food for today, hope for tomorrow.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
If you're a local business and want to see what Salem Surround can do for you, Google Salem Surround New York. Remember to Google Salem Surround New York today.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. As we watch the fall of Iran's hardline Islamist regime, nothing has been more moving than the palpable, heartfelt joy of the country's women. They're dancing in public, singing, throwing off the hijabs that have been forced on them for decades by a theocratic dictatorship. America acted to protect our own citizens and interests, but it's also glorious to witness the unfolding liberation of people who've endured such systematic humiliation and repression. Self-described American feminists should look deep into their own souls. For years, they've invoked the Handmaid's Tale. Yet when confronted with real women living under genuine, brutal subjugation, they're silent or even, like Kamala Harris, opposed to the action that's freeing them. That's not solidarity, it's selective outrage. May the women of Iran secure the freedom so long denied them. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Welcome back. We've been speaking with Dan Ecker. He's a seasoned personal injury attorney and partner at Lever and Ecker. Sorry for mispronouncing the firm's name there. Lever and Ecker, where he's built a reputation for fighting relentlessly on behalf of accident victims across New York. Known for his sharp litigation instincts and unwavering client advocacy, Dan brings clarity, compassion, and real-world results to every case he touches. For more information about Dan and his firm, visit www.leverecker.com. That's LEVERECKER.com. We'll also have links on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Did I get it right that time, Dan?
You got it. Spot on.
Sorry about mispronouncing the firm name, Lever Ecker. Now, my friend, before the break, I had asked you a question about the importance of going right away to a doctor or to a hospital. Isn't that another mistake many people make? They don't seek medical attention immediately. And why is that damaging to the case, that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost is, someone's health and safety again. So if, you've been in an accident, go to the hospital, go to the ER, and look, the insurance companies have a lot of tools in their toolkit, and this is a big one. And when someone delays care for a day, a week, however long it is, they're going to be all over that, and they're going to say, well, if you delayed care, you must either not have been injured, or you're exaggerating your injuries, or your injuries were from from a pre-existing situation or subsequent accident, and that can have traction with the jury. So for so many reasons, and again, first and foremost for your health, and then also for the benefit of your potential case, seeking treatment immediately or as early as you reasonably can is really critical.
As an expert, let me say this, Lucas, before you go.
Go ahead.
As an expert, I want you to zoom out, and I want you to talk about, in your particular field, how's it getting better, or what are some of the things that needs to be improved upon in your field as an expert? Because, we can ask you all these little, minute questions, but overall, the particular sector of law that you practice, how can it get better? What are some of the things that need to improve? What are some challenges that people don't even think about that you're like, if we can work on this? Another angle is technology like AI, is all this stuff, things that you could use. Like, talk about the industry, or, talk about the business that, where you see it going.
Sure. Well, I would say the single most significant issue is the time it takes to get to trial. It depends on the county or the venue you're in. Certain counties do move quickly, and kudos to them. But there are other counties where it takes a very long time to get to trial, and it's frustrating. These courts are backed up, and it's frustrating for clients and claimants and people who've been injured who deserve their day in court, but it takes them far too long. In terms of AI, AI is here. There's no question about it. We use it pretty prodigiously at my firm, and it's been an enormous help. It helps us, analyze enormous files and distill things down, and it's a huge time savings. And frankly, the AI has gotten so good with reviewing records and analyzing records, and we're not making motions. We've seen all those cases where lawyers have gotten in trouble for submitting cases or motions with cases that don't exist. So we're not doing that. But
we were talking about that earlier. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
But the AI is really a huge help, and only getting better literally every day.
Now, what documentation should a person gather before they leave the scene of an accident, whether it's a fall? I understand they should call the police and they should seek medical attention, but is there documentation that they need to gather before leaving the scene, or what do you recommend? If they're conscious, if they're aware, or if they have a family member or friend around, what should that family member or friend be doing?
So I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with a client or potential client who said, the person who was behind me said she witnessed the whole accident, said she'd be, more than happy to help me, whether, at trial, wherever it may be. And then I say, that's wonderful. What's this person's information? They say, oh, my God, I never got it. So getting witness information is critical, again, if you have the sort of, whereabouts to do it. Photographs are so important. But take a lot of photos. People have a tendency just to take a few photos of like the vehicle damage, but take close up, take far away, take skid marks, take street signs. There may be dash cam footage, either you or someone else has. Try to preserve it. There may be ring camera footage or street camera footage, and as you said at the outset, there's so much video these days that does get lost pretty quickly. So if you have the ability to gather this information before you leave the scene, again, that can make all the difference in the world in your case.
So information is critical. Name of witnesses, perfect advice, great advice. What are some things, this is another mistake that I see people make as a lawyer. I don't do personal injury, but I've seen these mistakes. What are some things that people should never say to another driver or to an insurance adjuster? What's some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen there?
Well, listen, I think, it's okay to be polite and to to engage with, and you need to engage with the other person when you're in an accident, but just be mindful of, admitting fault, because, the fault may not lie with you. You may be quick to apologize, but turns out that it was the other person's fault. So, you need to be careful with what you say, because it'll be held against you. And in terms of communicating with insurance adjusters, honestly, that's sort of the segue to, hiring a lawyer. Let the lawyer deal with the insurance folks. You do have an obligation to communicate with the insurance adjuster from your own company, but in terms of the insurance adjuster for, let's say, the other driver or other vehicle, that's where the lawyer should come in and, deal with that directly.
Wow. Now, you've been known for being hands-on with clients. What does that look like in practice? That must take up a lot of your time. And I notice that personal injury lawyers also have to act as psychotherapists sometimes, right? Because people are under a lot of stress. That must be very exacting for you and your partners.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, different firms have different philosophies. Our philosophy is just the number of clients we represent. We sort of limit that, and that allows us, we think, to give each client the attention they deserve, frankly, again, after being probably through the most traumatic event or one of the most traumatic events of their life. And we're available to them because, like you said, in some ways we're not only lawyers, but we're counselors, and, there are all sorts of things come up during the course of a case, not just about the litigation side, but, the personal side too. And that's really important, and it's helpful to our clients, and it's helpful to us to have an open line of communication with them, and it helps them, and it helps us help them.
Let me ask you a question before we break for the evening, Dan. Dash cams, friend or foe? Because I see a lot of video on social media about fraud. The dash cams are great about helping to reinforce that somebody else is responsible for an accident, or the accident didn't really happen at all and that the claim is fraudulent. But conversely, it can also show that you're guilty. So friend or foe, and where do you stand on dash cams? Should I get one?
Big friend, absolutely friend. And you should, not only should you get a dash cam, you should get one that has both the front-facing and rear-facing to pick up on, God forbid.
So you're a big fan. So you're a big fan of them, huh? Interesting.
Listen, it gets to the truth more quickly, right? If if you or your client or whoever it may be is the one who caused it, then you have your answer and you can move on. But on the other hand, if it confirms, as many dash cams have for us and our clients, if it confirms that the other person was at fault, then that's enormously helpful, and it's probably the most important piece of evidence in the case.
And also exposes a lot of fraud, too. I've seen some pretty heinous stuff online. Have you seen that video where somebody actually cuts in front of a driver, stops, and then the driver behind them stops in time, but then what does the driver in front of them do? Backs up and intentionally bashes and crashes into the vehicle behind them. And they all get out pretending they're injured, but luckily the guy had a dash cam.
That's right.
That's criminal stuff, no?
Without question, and that's an infamous, piece of footage at this point. I think we've all seen it many times.
Right.
And I mean, if we can get rid of fraud in the system, these bogus claims, I'm thrilled on behalf of my colleagues and my community to get those out of the system if we can.
Yes, and let's have real claims so that we don't spend years in the court system waiting, because the average time is about 4 years. How many years are some of these cases taking, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, again, depending on the county, it can be, 2 up to, 5, 6 or more, depending on where you are.
So patience is a virtue, that's for sure.
That's
Dan, unfortunately, we've run out of time. For more information about Dan and his firm, visit www.leverecker.com. That's LEVERECKER.com. We'll also post the link on our website, shakeitofflive.com. Our sincerest thanks for coming on the program, Dan. We hope you had fun.
I did. Thank you again for having me, and have a great evening.
Bye-bye now. Well, my friends, that concludes show number 87. May I hear an amen? Amen. Special thanks to the Murdinator. Yeah, special thanks to the Murdinator, Murd Roberts, my co-host. 87 amazing episodes. That's 174 hours of live entertainment if you're keeping track. And if you think that's easy, you try it. To Alex Garrett, thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Ashley Ferrante and everybody behind the scenes at AM 970. Our serious thanks. Before we go, remember to check out my movies. They're streaming everywhere. The big hit, my latest hit, Manor of Darkness. The New York Times says you gotta stream it. Check it out. It's playing on all the platforms, including Tubi. You can watch it for free. Also watch my other movies, 5,000 Space Aliens, Makeup, Children of the Pines. Christina Gates is up next with Culinary Confidential. You don't want to miss her show. Join us next week. We'll have more guests, more topics, and just for you. All of this is just for you. Same time, same place. Ciao, ciao.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
You're invited to pull up a chair on Lisa Harper's Back Porch, where faith meets real life. Welcome to Back Porch Theology. Each episode helps you dive deeper into God's Word and discover that the gospel isn't just good news for eternity. It's great news for everyday life because God is for you, and He's always been restoring our value and drawing us closer to Him with honest conversations, a few laughs, and guests ranging from close friends to brilliant theologians. Back Porch Theology is thoughtful, meaningful, and never stuffy. So grab some coffee or sweet tea and join Lisa Harper on Back Porch Theology. Subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts.